Okay guys, I just found out the craziest thing. Did you know that the people of Uxbridge and Scugog actually fought in a battle to defend Ontario in 1866? So I had never heard the word Fenians before my research on this topic. As a matter of fact, I kind of only stumbled upon this topic when I was researching something else. So apparently North Durham people helped to defend Canada from this invading group called the Fenians. This included local military companies from Prince Albert, Greenwood, Uxbridge, Whitby, and Oshawa, and not to mention 2 volunteers from Scugog Island. Okay, so just in case you've heard just as little about the Fenians as I had, I think it might be a good idea to give you some background history. I mean, honestly, I thought it was somebody's last name. The Fenians were a group of Irish people who despised British rule. One source indicates that during the Great Famine in Ireland in 1845, that some of the Irish people actually thought that the British government was trying to starve the Irish people on purpose to try and commit a genocide of the Irish people. The Fenian solution to this problem was to create an independent Ireland through armed conflict with England. And in case you're wondering why they used the name Fenians, it's not somebody's last name like I thought it was. The word Fenian comes from the word Fianna, which was a name for some Irish warriors in the 2nd and 3rd centuries. After an unsuccessful revolution in Ireland, the Fenian Movement came across the seas to the Americas and established the Fenian Brotherhood. The Fenian Brotherhood was comprised mostly of Irish Americans and Irish revolutionaries who escaped from Ireland to the Americas. Many of the Irish Americans in the Fenian Brotherhood had recently fought in the American Civil War, in which they had gained weapons, ammunition, and fighting knowledge. And in 1866, all that came into play when the Fenian Brotherhood hatched a plan. Their plan was to overthrow Canada and use it as a bargaining chip to force England to relinquish control over Ireland. Yeah, I thought it was pretty silly too. The main events unfolded on June 1st and June 2nd, 1866, when they crossed over from Buffalo, New York and captured Fort Erie in the 2 main conflicts that would be known as the Battle of Ridgeway and the Battle of Fort Erie. Both of these battles were considered victories for the determined Fenians. Our local military companies that I mentioned at the beginning, Prince Albert, Greenwood, Uxbridge, Whitby, and Oshawa, along with some British troops, came to aid and relieve the Torontonian troops. And when the Fenians heard this, they realized that Canada wasn't as easy a touch as they thought, so they packed their bags and ran. I mean, honestly, why would they think that trying to conquer the 2nd largest country in the world would be easy, especially when the United States tried to do it in 1812 and lost? Now, well, I realize that Canada wasn't yet a country, but we'll get to that later. A few sources claim that the reason that most of us haven't heard about these conflicts is because the government tried to cover it up, because they saw it as a military failure, which is kind of funny considering that the Fenians eventually retreated. Back home in Seagrave, a couple of local boys managed to even turn the invasion into a practical joke. You see, there was this elderly Irish woman in Seagrave, and every day when the schoolboys went past her house, she would ask them, "So, have you heard any news about the Fenians?" Of course, they were schoolboys and nobody probably told them anything about the news, and if they did, they probably weren't paying attention. So they just kind of found the whole thing annoying. So finally, one day they got fed up and decided to play a practical joke on the old woman. So the next day when they crossed by her house and she asked them, "So, have you heard any news about the Fenians?" They responded, "Oh yeah, the Fenians have invaded Seagrave." And unfortunately, she believed them and went into her house to tell her husband. I don't know anything more about that story, but I imagine that that did not end well for those practical joking boys. The invasion wasn't all bad though. The Battle of Ridgeway has been referred to as the battle that made Canada. You see, all the areas that eventually became provinces of Canada heard about the Fenian invasion and they wanted to do their part. The incidents helped everyone to realize both the benefits and the necessities of coming together to work as a team. And so, the very next year, on July 1st, 1867, Canada confederated.